So, why the K series? Why K swap the Honda Prelude, bro? I mean, you said you spent 10K on swapping the car, right? You could have just put 10K into building the H series and throwing in a turbo kit and getting a lot of power for 10K, bro. What the heck? True. Yeah, you're right. I mean, come on, bro. 10K, that's a lot of money. All that money just to put a K series in your Prelude. That was it. Stock motor. You didn't bother to open it up. You spent 6 months on getting the swap done. Whereas if you just built the 8 series, it would have just dropped straight in. Yeah, you're right. I mean, but to me, it wasn't really about going super fast or making big power. I mean, if you think about it, not a lot of people have Honda Preludes, right? And that's pretty much the only car that the H22 came in, besides a few Accords, right? So they stopped making H22 engines since like 2001. But on the other hand, you got the K series, and they're still coming out in the new Civic Type Rs, the new Integra. They've been making K series motors for over 20 years now, and there's just a lot of aftermarket support, right? Okay, yeah, you're right. And the H22s are getting harder to find, man. I mean, 2001, that was over 20 years ago. So these motors are getting harder to find, and there's not a lot of companies making these parts for the H22s anymore. But that's really not it. That's not the reason why I did the K swap. Well, dang, bro, you were kind of making some sense there, but I mean, if it isn't because the K series is so popular and there's a lot of aftermarket support, then what was the reason? I'll have to say that there were a lot of contributing factors. First off, I was truly inspired by Chris, Prelude SH on Instagram. He's someone who's very known in the Honda Prelude community, and back when I moved to Texas, I had found out that he lived only 4 hours away from me. So he and I linked up. I got to check out his K-swap Honda Prelude, and man, it just looks so perfectly done and built, and it was just amazing. I remember when I met up with Chris, he put up in the parking lot. He had rolled down his window. He had reached out and opened his car from the outside with gloves. That's just how immaculate his paint job was. Like, it was so intimidating to be near his car because it just looked like there was a lot of work or investment that has been put into it, and I just really respected the quality of his build, you know. But yeah, after meeting up with Chris and checking out his K swap, that pretty much gave me the inspiration for my K swap. But meeting Chris was just igniting a new inspiration, because if you followed my YouTube journey, you know, I've started from not knowing how to do a coolant flush properly, not knowing how to install side skirts or cleaning my headlights. I don't know. I came from not knowing anything about cars to eventually tearing down my motor so many times, messing up and fixing it, and it's gotten to the point where it became a little repetitive or too easy. Like, it got to the point where I was kind of just repeating the same thing and wasn't trying something new, right? When I finally met Chris, it just sparked the inspiration in going K series, you know. And that brings me back to my previous point. You know, not a lot of people have Honda Preludes, right? So if there's not a lot of Honda Preludes or any other unpopular chassis, you know, how many companies are really going to be making parts for our cars? You know, there's a few, and I really appreciate it, but there's just not that many options, you know? And so by doing the K swap, I'm now involved in a much bigger community, because there are a lot of different websites and Facebook groups that focus on K swaps. And it doesn't matter what chassis you have, it's all pretty much the same exact thing. The only thing you'll have to figure out differently is how to hook up the wiring, what axles are going to work, um, other motor mounts, or you're gonna have to make it yourself. You know, just all these small different details, which all ultimately give you the same result. You know, a K-swapped car. So pretty much, the H22s are becoming harder to come by, and there wasn't much of a challenge of working on them anymore. Now that I K-swapped my Prelude, I now have an appreciation for engine bays. I never cared about engine bays. No matter how many times I've pulled my H22 and fixed it up and put it back in, anytime I saw someone else's engine bay, I didn't know what I was looking at, right? But now that I've done the K-swap and I pretty much had to custom make everything myself, and I was able to tuck things away or delete things that I wasn't using, now I have a big appreciation for when I go to car shows or meets and people have their hoods open. Now I'm interested, like, whoa, I may not know what motor I'm looking at, but I really like how they cleaned it all up, how everything was done or tucked, or how the lines were routed. It really took my car enthusiasm to the next level, because before I was just used to making my car look good and maintaining it. But now that I K-swapped it, I'm in a whole new world, a bigger community of car enthusiasts who have K-swapped their car. Now I learned a lot about a new engine. I learned how to make my own custom coolant lines, power steering lines, fuel lines. I want to eventually make my own AC lines. It's just really cool that this is all something that you could do from home and learn on your own, you know? So again, to me, it wasn't about the power or if the K is better than the H. Nah, it was just really more of just learning more, doing something different, and challenging myself. But those are my personal reasons for doing the K swap. You know, everyone else has their own different reasons. One big reason why these K motors are so popular is because they can handle like 500 horsepower without you even opening the engine. So you would just need to do bolt-ons like turbo kit, fuel injectors, fuel pump, I guess header intake, exhaust, and oil pump upgrade. That's probably about it. ECU. But yeah, you don't have to open the motor. You don't have to get it sleeved. You don't have to get new pistons or nothing. You know, from the factory, the K24A2s, they can handle about 500 horsepower with bolt-ons. So, you know, yeah, it was a big investment to do the swap, but now I can easily go turbo if I wanted to. And if I blew the motor, I could just find another K24 on the low.